Yes, we are here. We are here and we are live. Get in here, get in here. It's a lot to discuss. I am, first of all, glad it's Friday, TGIF, okay? I am tired. I have been working all week. I want to give a first shout out to Ashley Banfield for having me on our platform. Also, if you guys haven't caught it, the TMZ episode is out, episode 5 on their podcast on Tubi. I will be posting that soon. And I think Nancy Grace is out now too. All right, is everybody oiled up? I'm not really oiled up yet because I was just too oily last night, so I'm chilling right now. But baby, the tea is piping hot. Okay, now, Jane Doe was allegedly jealous of Young Miami. Now, she didn't say Young Miami, but if we put the pieces together, girl, it's giving Young Miami. Also, Diddy likes to look at Peckerwood. We'll get into that a little bit later. We're also going to get into the UTI and the SOAR PUTHY with a plethora of many other things. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about today. It's a lot of things going on. I'm gonna break this thing down for you guys. For you guys that caught the lunchtime or the midday live, we're gonna go back over that, and then we're gonna get into some more things. Okay, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, donate to the More Oil Fund. It keeps us thriving and driving here in LA. And let's shout out to our boy Duchess Kelly Love.
Wiggins, bring the tea. I said, oh my Wiggins, bring the tea. I said, oh my Wiggins, bring the tea. We go down to the courthouse, bring the tea. He give us ID news, bring the tea. He is never biased, bring the tea. I said, oh my Wiggins, bring the tea. I said, oh my Wiggins, bring the tea. Oh my Wiggins, bring the tea. Oh my Wiggins, bring the tea. I want to thank all my.
Oh yeah.
Bring the tea. I want to thank bring the tea. Oh, he's sassy and classy. Bring the tea. I said,
oh my niggas.
Bring the tea.
I said, oh my niggas, we bringing the tea. I said, oh my niggas, we bringing the tea. I said, oh my niggas. All right. Now, let's get into it, y'all. Are y'all here? Are y'all seated? Is everybody oiled up? More oil, more oil. Because I feel like y'all not really slippery like I like it, okay? So I think today's day 17, Jane Doe, her day 2 on the platform, okay? So they jump right into it. Waste no time. She comes in. She's already bushy-eyed, teary-eyed, and ready to break down in tears. I'm just going to let you guys know this. I was rocking with Jane Doe for a minute, but I think Jane Doe was a damn fool, and she was unrealistic about who she was and what she was to Diddy. It's not an excuse, but at the end of the day, this situation, for me, I just feel like she didn't really know who she was. Okay, so let's get into it. So they go into how many trips you take with Diddy. So I'm just going to give you guys the synopsis really quick. The Jane Doe synopsis as of this point today, she was basically a human bot. Okay? You see what I'm saying? She was a human. She was a hoe. She was Jane Ho. It's no shade. And she didn't understand what she signed up for. So this whole thing that they're painting, they're trying to get her, they're trying to paint the picture. The prosecution is trying to paint the picture. Let me get it. Of blank trafficking by fraud. That's the whole, this is the reason for her testimony, to get him on blank trafficking by fraud. Basically saying this woman was coerced and lied to and frauded into being blank blank trafficked. Fill in the blanks if you want. So that's the whole angle here. So all of this is going to be about Jane Doe taking pipe. She's taking more pipe than your house. Okay? So let's get into it. So they said, well, how many trips did you go to Vegas with Diddy? She said, I went to one trip in 2023 on a private jet. We stayed 2 nights. Diddy wanted a hotel night, aka a freak off. Okay? And so they did a freak off. Now they said they're going off the grid. And they said, well, what does going off the grid mean? Going off the grid meant be carefree, fun, sexy, a hotel night, if you know what I mean. And let me remind you about going off the grid. 1 second. Give me a second. Because y'all, I'm going to make this all make sense for y'all right now. Going off the grid. Okay?
The people don't.
You know though.
I know, but the people rounds you be going. So how many rounds you be going?
You know.
The people don't.
You know though.
I know, but the people don't.
Okay, so
so
what's the
I'm
answer?
asking for the people.
What's the answer? What's the answer?
Baby, let me tell y'all something. On which yacht? This nigga don't go to sleep. I be like, God damn. I'm gonna tell y'all something. For real. I really thought that I was gonna like make him tap out. Like I really thought he was gonna be being out no chance. This nigga don't go to sleep. Like I be like, nigga, go to sleep. You gotta be energized, you gotta be charged up like a Tesla.
When you going off the grid with me, you gotta go to sleep for a week.
Yeah, because it's definitely giving no sleep. So how many rounds you be going?
You know.
Okay. And listen.
The people don't.
You know though.
I know, but the people don't.
Okay, so
I'm
what's the
asking
answer?
for the people.
Hold on. I thought that was interesting that they both had on sunglasses as well. Hold on. I thought it was interesting that they both had sunglasses on as well. I'm not insinuating anything, but we know that Diddy get high now. We know that Diddy be high up them glasses, but she had on glasses too. So it's given that they had a long night the night before, somewhere off the grid. That's going to be very important because you're going to need to know the timelines and listen to what Diddy had to say about being off the grid. When you go off the grid with him, it's no sleep. That's a very important variable that he mentioned. As we get into this Jane Doe testimony, you're going to have to remember the things that were said. And Young Miami was there, and he don't go to sleep. So let's get into it. They also said, what does freak mean? Because Diddy would say, ooh, I just need my freak. Where's that freak at? I want my freak. Now, freak, she was his freak. He wanted her to be wild, sexy, sexual, freaky. So he would say, we're going off the grid and I need my freak. So she was a freak, if that makes sense. Okay, so when they would do the hotel nights, one time in Vegas, they did the hotel nights, a man just appeared. You'll learn that men just appear. And this particular night, Diddy wanted no condoms. The man was getting ready to insert himself inside of Jane Doe. Legs up. Diddy was standing at the back. She looked back, but the man was almost dead center inside of Euphoria. She looked back, and Diddy looked at her she said Diddy gave her a look like, bitch, you better not ask for no motherfucking condom. You better not do it. You better not and ask. And she said she just turned around and she was so sad because she knew that Sean didn't want a condom. Eventually, he gave her a condom, but he was so disgusted. He didn't want her using a condom because he didn't want to see a rubber on the D, on the PECKER wood. He didn't want to see her get wet a condom on. He wanted to see that glistening go in and out. They said, well, would you always be high with this? She said, yes. They said, did you ever have a sober conversation and say, hey, I don't want to not use condoms? She said, yes. And when she would do that, Diddy would get upset. He would be frustrated. He did not like the idea of not using condoms. So they played, something just got in my eye. They then played a video recording. Now, so with the Jane Doe, they're not showing all the recordings, but they played an audio. This is the first time audio has been introduced in the courtroom. So they played an audio. So Diddy was recording the session. They didn't show the full video. They played the audio. I really couldn't make out what was said, but they repeated what was said. Diddy said, she said, is there a condom around? The guy started looking for one. Diddy said, what are you looking for? She said, I'm looking for a condom. Diddy was like, don't say you out here looking for condoms. Like, are you serious? Why are y'all looking for condoms? And then Diddy said, you was just taking that PECKER. If you don't hurry up and start touching yourself, B, start playing with yourself right now. You was just taking that D and you want to sit around here and look for a condom. This was on the audio. She said she did whatever he did. She did whatever he wanted to do. They asked her, why did you feel like you had to ask a man for a condom for your own body? She said, I didn't want to disappoint Diddy and make him unhappy because he would get an attitude and he would act really, really agitated. And so she would be so afraid to ask for them because Diddy would be so upset and he'd be agitated and pissed off. They asked her after a round of a freak off, what happens next? She said she broke down. After the freak off, the man would be released. He would finish all over me. Diddy would then take her into the room with all the finishings over her and indulge in the sloppy seconds. And once he had finished, or if you speak Spanish, penished, once he penished with the sloppy seconds, then they would play with the finishings together. I don't know what she was like, we would just play with it. So Diddy had a finishings fetish. That was very interesting to me because Diddy liked dick. And maybe not inside of him, but he likes that from another man, where there's no denying that. Diddy likes dick and he likes. Now you can't look at me because I don't think he's ready for that. That's an emotional connection. But from the waist down, he's in it. No condom, I need it. I want more oil. I want it hard. I want it finishing. I want it sloppy. And I want it black. Okay? And I want the nails white so you can see the contrast on the big black, if you know what I mean. And then, and what I also think is that he gets these pretty women and he uses the woman to really have his excursion with the man. So the woman actually serves as a buffer. You have all this power, you have all this influence, you have all of these things, but you use this and you use the money and the woman because you know they can bring the man, the type of man that you like, and you want to look at this attractive man bang this woman, but then you want to play with his sloppy seconds and dibble and dabble in the finishings. Okay? So then she said they would get in the shower, change clothes, and do it again. They would do it again. This would last for hours, sometimes 12 hours, sometimes 30 hours. Sometimes it would be one round with one guy. Sometimes it'd be 3 times with one guy. Sometimes it'd be 2 guys in one night. The most she's ever done, I think it was about 3 to 4 different guys in one night. And we're going to get into that. And she broke down. Loud. I'm like, ooh. When she was tired and wanted to stop, Diddy would make faces like, I know you're not tired. You tired already? She just kept breaking down. Diddy would say, I know you're not getting tired on me, baby. Go ahead and finish strong. Finish strong. You got this, champ. Finish strong, pretty girl. They said, well, why didn't you just stop? She said, I don't know. I don't know. And everybody just looked. They said when she got tired, Diddy would grab a small pill of ecstasy and just put it in her mouth. You got it. And she'd eat it. She'd take it and she'd recharge and she'd get to sucking and getting banged out for another few hours. And Diddy sit and watch. And the man would finish. And then they go play in the sloppy seconds. Then another man will come. Then the man will finish, playing the sloppy seconds. She get tired. He give her another pill. One time they were in Beverly Hills at the Waldorf. And she was so sad because she was excited. She thought that she was going to have an alone time with Diddy. This is the thing with her. I'm about to give y'all the tea with her right now. She thought she was supposed to be his girlfriend. She wanted what Cassie wanted. She wanted, okay, so how Cassie wanted to be Kim Porter, this girl wanted to be Cassie. She wanted to be a girlfriend, and she didn't realize that she was just a sex object. You were a hoe. And I don't know why she didn't realize that she was a hoe. When the way that you found him, he was cheating on your homegirl, and you messed with him from underneath your homegirl. So there was already no respect there. And then he you the same day he met you. And you was going. You were a complete goer. But then you thought that you was going to be a wife. And in reality, Diddy had certain women in place that he thought, this is going to be my girlfriend. This is going to be my hoe. You were the hoe. So she said she thought she was going to have some alone time with Diddy. That's what Diddy told her. But then he said, well, there's going to be a quick freak off. Then the guy came over. It was only supposed to be a quickie. She did 3 rounds with this guy. She got 3 times. They did a bunch of ecstasy. The room was red. It lasted about 24 hours. Then Diddy told her, I gotta go. She broke down in tears. She felt like all she wanted to do was be with Diddy. But he would leave her. And then when she would cry, Diddy would say, oh, are you crying? Can't do this right now. Why are you crying? I'm too high for this. You got to stop the crying. But she said she felt so bad because Diddy, she would do all this freaky ritualistic stuff, be so high out of her mind, double feet, one here, one there, one here, one in the rear, one in the ear, everywhere. And Diddy would get up and hop on a jet and leave. After she'd been sodomized, crucified, and relaxed and brought back and exonerated, he would dip on her. And all she wanted was to cuddle. But after 3 loads and 4 guys in sloppy seconds, they were done. She said she was so high she blacked out when she was having sex with Paul the escort. She got in the shower with Diddy and she was crying. And Diddy said, I can't do this right now. I'm too high for this. They said, why was this work for you? Did this feel like work? She said, yes. It was work on me, because everything was all on me from start to finish. She said she would try to have sex with the men right away so it would end. But Diddy would say, slow down. You're moving too quick. Not yet. Slow down. Here's another pill. Just relax. Okay? And I said they're trying to use the hotel incident like it's her job. So that's adding to this, the trafficking, the RICO, the conspiracy of all of that. Now she's a worker. She's now an employee for Diddy. She is now a worker and being trafficked for prostitution. She said she would be so sad because after all that, after hours and hours and hours of doing that, she would bathe Diddy, cook for him, put on his favorite TV show. Then they would finally get to cuddle. And she would only get to be with Diddy after the escort would leave. Every now and then she would text Diddy, I love you. I miss you. But also, she would randomly send nudes to Diddy and tell him how she feels. Oh, I'm so horny. Oh, I'm so horny. They said, well, why would you do that? If you wanted a relationship, why are you sending him nudes? Well, because I was horny for him. But every time she would do that, it would turn into an escort coming by. There was a lot of nudes and explicit images and photos they would share. And then she would also suggest that she would want to be with another man. So she would start gassing Diddy up because she knew that that would get his attention. So she would, because when he wouldn't respond to just her, she'd have to send nude pictures and suggest she ready for a freak off. So Diddy wanted her to talk nasty in the text messages, get real nasty. He would say, text me freaky, nasty fantasy messages. Text me some freaky messages. Fantasy. They said, did you want to do that? She said, no. He said, why did you do that? She said, because that's what he wanted. On 11/9/2021, the text message thread kind of started like this. Ooh, I'm so horny for you. And Diddy would say, I want you to be explicit. So then she would write, ooh, I just want to suck Paul's dick while you give me that strong stroke game. She said, I want you stroking, I want to be stroking a hard D next to me while the other hard D is thick inside me. And Diddy loved that, she said. And so they would have, and then they would FaceTime and get real freaky and talk about the fantasy. She did say she would become very uncomfortable, though, about where the dynamic of the relationship was going because she thought she was going to get more out of the relationship. However, Diddy only seemed to contact her when he wanted a freak off. She said in September of 2023, she said she wished she could just go back from when they first met. Right now, it's just gotten so dark. I don't want to feel obligated to do this. To keep a roof over my head, she told Diddy. You're confusing my lust for love or lust for love. This is not all I'm good for. I feel like the only reason you have me around is for freak offs. I'm so much more than hotel rooms and late nights and weirdo sessions. But I kept doing it because I felt like I had to. She never got to sleep during the hotel nights. On a 3-day stay, she got rest at the end. They did a vacation. Diddy would only, if they did a 5-day vacation, they'd have to freak off for 3 days. Maybe then 1 or 2 days after, they'd be asleep. So they'd freak off. She thinks she'd have time with Diddy. They're going to go and go on a personal vacation. All of a sudden, an escort is flying in. She wouldn't let the escorts do drugs in front of her. That was her one rule. She would be high, Diddy would be high, but the escorts couldn't be high because she didn't know them and she didn't want the escorts to pound her too hard to where they would take advantage or hurt her whole. Because they were so high, she didn't want them getting too excited. She told the escorts they couldn't take drugs because they couldn't be out of control on her body. This is from May 2021 to 2023. She said she felt like she would have to take drugs because when she tried to do it sober, it felt too real. She just wanted to escape her body. Remember, this is the same thing that Cassie said, that she would just have to be drugged out because Diddy wanted it so bad that this is all. So she like whenever they would hang out, she would stay on drugs. She would just be on drugs the entire time. And just like her, just like Cassie, these women are not realizing that was what you were there for. Yes, he wined and dined you, but girl, y'all were not girlfriends. Y'all were supposed to be his fetish girls. Y'all were supposed to be where he released his inhibitions. He wasn't doing that with everyone else. You girls were the freak off. when he wanted to go off the grid and get into a freak off and go into a dungeon and turn his phone off, you were who he was calling. But he just had the money to make you feel like you are more important, because maybe he'd fly you to Turks and Caicos and freak you off. Maybe he'd fly you to, New York, Miami. You thought you were special. You weren't special. You were just a glorified hoe. And they got lost in love. And they weren't really supposed to, it wasn't giving that. So the drugs made it easier for her. She wouldn't stop crying. She tried not to use drugs, but when she did that, it was boring, she said. She could not use the drugs. So when she tried it, it was so boring. But then she said, fuck it, give me the pill. And Diddy say, he pulled out he said, no problem. He pulled out a pill from under the towel and put it in her mouth. And she take the pill. And they said, after you did the pill, what happened? She said she felt so much better. Then she started crying. October 2023. She said she wanted things to be back for regular. She wanted Diddy to calm down. Diddy was doing so much drugs. And then she said he already takes a bunch of pills daily for God knows what. So I don't know if that's medication or what, but she was saying he already was taking regular pills daily on a daily basis. I don't know if that's vitamins. Well, they didn't get into that. But he already has to take a bunch of pills every day, according to her. She said they're supposed to do 30 days, no drugs, Diddy said. But they're going to have one more sobriety party. So the sobriety party lasted 12 to 18 hours. It was in the L'Hermitage, Beverly Hills. Y'all know I never stayed there. I ain't got the money to stay there. So y'all famous people, y'all rich people that stayed there, y'all know what I'm talking about. So it first started with 2 different escorts. One came, they finished. She was so high off pills. Another one came right after that. Banged her out, stupid. One in her front, one in her bunk. She ran to the bathroom and threw up because she was so high. And so ran through. She told Diddy that she ended up throwing up. And Diddy said, that's a good thing. Now that you threw up, you're going to feel better. Okay? Now it's time to keep going. So the third guy came, knocked on the door. After she threw up, Diddy had called the third guy. This is all in one night. This is the sobriety freak off. So he knocks on the door, and she immediately starts. And Diddy watched her get banged out. She just threw up. Gave her another pill. And she just got banged out. So Diddy would watch her get out for hours by each man. And every time for the 12 to 18 hours, she would wear high heels this high, stripper heels. So she would dress like a stripper hoe. And different men would come and dump in her. And Diddy would watch as they squirt baby oil all over everybody. And this would be for hours. The whole hotel would smell like ass and baby oil. And it would be red lights, baby oil, and different men coming in and out, dumping on her, in her, with no condom. And then Diddy would go and play with the sloppy seconds. and they would just be so high. So then they started getting into what I feel is trying to build a case on KK. Oh, yes. They're trying to build the case on KK too. So Diddy would frequently fly her out from from LA to Miami. But before she flew out, she would have to then go pick up a package. At first, she didn't know what the package was, but she would have to go to KK, pick up the package. The security guard would drop the package. Then she'd have to put the package in her luggage. She said she was nervous about putting the package in her luggage, but KK said, I do it all the time. Don't worry about it. When she got the package, it was a bunch of pills of ecstasy that she would have to put in her luggage, get on the plane, and fly to Miami to go see Diddy on Two-Star Island. So whenever she would fly to Diddy, she would have to go get a package of drugs first. She did this about 2 or 3 times. So Diddy, now we're back to the escorts. Diddy would start booking escorts, and Jane Doe would start booking escorts. They asked who was booking them. Was it you? Was it me? She said, I would start booking them myself at this point. I didn't like to be surprised because Diddy would have just random men coming in and dumping her. So she said that if she was going to do it, she'd rather book them herself. All the men were strangers before they met her. They would just be random men knocking on the door and just pull it out. Bloop. And she just had to go and get banged. So she decided that if that was the case, she was going to pick who was going to get to. Because that was the dynamic that they had, and she was looking for more chemistry with the guys. So there was one guy named Cabral Williams. She used to call him Shep, and his exotic name is called Sly. I looked over to my right, and Cassie's lawyer is sitting right beside me. I wrote that on the note. So Cassie's lawyer was in the building listening to this testimony. So Cabral Williams, a.k.a. Chef, they call him a chef because he's a good cook. She really liked Cabral. Cabral would come at her all the time. So she booked Cabral. Cabral was from Atlanta. They would fly Cabral from Atlanta to New York, to DC, to to LA at the drop of a dime. How they met Cabral is they would have movie nights. And the movie nights is where her and Diddy would sit and look at Dick. Okay? And so they were watching his videos back to back on the internet. And Diddy was talking about how big his was and being very flirty with each other. And Diddy would say, you like that, big mother? You like that, huh? I don't think you can handle that. You think you can handle that, motherfucker? Oh, I done cursed. Damn. I done got too into it. Dang it. Send me some super chats because now I done messed up this video. Diddy told me, I don't think you can get that. I don't think you can get with that. That big. Look at that. Just look at that. And she said, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that mother. And so Diddy, she said that she DM'd him and said, what's up? She would love to meet and possibly have some fun. So they got on a call. She FaceTimed him. She put the FaceTime on the big TV Diddy sitting in the corner off the camera. And she said it got hot and steamy on the FaceTime. And they started talking about, you know what? And she said, nigga, show me your dick. And he whipped it out on the table. Bow. And she showed him her. She showed it. And she said, they said, well, where was Diddy? They said Diddy was on the sideline rubbing himself and playing with us. Diddy was on the sideline watching it all go down. He had it on a big screen TV, but the man didn't know. So shortly after that, they scheduled his flight from Atlanta to LA. She booked it on Experian. Diddy would reimburse her. She said Cabral was cute. He was nervous. He was nice. He was sweet. It would start, they would make small talk, and then the oil would happen. Then the oil would happen. They would talk, and then everybody would have to start getting oiled. Okay? The oil would have to come out. Then she starts squirting oil all over her. He's squirting oil all over him. Then they're talking. Diddy would be on the side jacking. And then she would invite Cabral to insert himself in her mouth. She liked Cabral. She would invite him all the time. He was familiar. The thing is this, though. She said she didn't want to do it, but she did for Diddy. Every city Cabral came to, they had a hotel night, basically a freak off. They would fly him in all over from Atlanta. They paid Cabral at the end. Sometimes they would pay him $2,000. Sometimes they pay him $4,000 in Cash App. Diddy would keep cash in the room just in case he had to pay. If he'd ever run out of cash, he'd do it in a wire. The next person she chose was Anton Harris. They were watching a video of him and liked the way he was doing it. He's from LA. She DM'd him, I'd like to meet you. Me and my partner want to get freaky if you want to come over. Anton came. They said, did you fuck him? She said, yes. Diddy was there. They did the same thing. The oil came out. He inserted himself. He finished. Diddy jumped in on the sloppy seconds, and then they gargled and played with the finishings. She said, they said, if you didn't want to have with him, why did you do it? She said she did it to impress her man. She wanted to impress Diddy. So I said Diddy was bored with her. Diddy was bored with women. I feel like Diddy was able to get out his inhibitions with men through her. This is what's interesting, though. When she would be on the phone with the guys, on the FaceTime, she said Diddy would say, get them to show you that dick. They said, can you explain that? So Diddy would be sitting off on the corner, off to the side, like he not there. She said that she wouldn't show Diddy because she wouldn't want him, the guy, to feel uncomfortable. But then she would say, send me a pic. You got to show me that. And so they would send her a deep pic, and her and Diddy would look at it together. So Diddy would say, you got to get them to send you a picture of that D. And she said, Diddy would make her get the pictures. And she would and they would look at the nigga's dick. She said, do you ever request looking at niggas' dicks without Diddy? She said, no. I never requested a man to send me a picture without Diddy telling me to. So you mean to say you never was texting a man on the side and said, hey, send me a picture of your... She said, no. Sean wanted me to do it. He requested me to send pictures, to request pictures of their... They said, how would you do it? She would say, ooh, I'm so horny. Then she would send a freaky text. And then she would say, we need to have a combo right now, boy. I'm touching myself right now. The guy would say, you want me to call you? Then he would call. Then they would have like a FaceTime sex. And Diddy would be there. Shortly after that, they asked him what his date of birth was and what his name was. And flew him out, and she would say, ooh. In that same text, she would say, I'm so horny. What's your name and date of birth? And so she booked a flight. Well, she's saying Jess ended up booking the flight, his assistant. And somebody, I'm trying to figure out, I think she said Diddy sent her a message, or another guy sent her a picture and said, missing you, lovely, with a dick pic. And then she would text back, looking good, with smiley faces. She said she was too high to book the flights. That's why Jess would book the flights. So she liked Cabral, a guy named Anton, Paul, and Don. Those are the guys that she would book. They said, how many times would you do freak offs? All the time, very often. That was their whole relationship. She was a sex bot. February 2024, they had a freak off in Miami at Diddy's house. How many freak offs did you have in 2024? And last year they had 5 freak offs. She said that was much less than what they normally would do. They had a freak off with Don in Miami. She only met Don in Miami. I think that's one of the guys that Diddy knows from Miami. Diddy set that up. She had a freak off with Paul in July. Met him off of Cowboys and Angels. He's from LA. And we found out, and I think that's the same guy that Cassie did a freak off with. Here's the tea. Paul was allegedly Diddy's personal trainer. Paul was Diddy's personal trainer turned freak off buddy. In 2022, there was an Italian man. Every so often, they would have a freak off with this guy. I put Mexican Spanish, but he wasn't that cute. I could see the picture. I didn't really, she said that one was okay, but you know, she wanted to use a condom, and Diddy got irritated with her because she wanted to use a condom with that guy, and she really wasn't attracted to the guy, but she did it. But the guy just popped up at the house, and she was just like, "Okay, well, I want to use a condom with this guy. You know, I'm not really feeling it like that, but you know, it is what it is." But she was, and they ended up doing it. But Diddy got so disgusted because he gave her the condom, so he walked away. And so she felt bad, like she had disappointed him, like she had let him down. Then she said there was one guy that she just couldn't get over. He was cute though. He had a beard. He was kind of buff. He was a black guy. It was in LA. She said she was disgusted by this man. He was sweaty. He was musty. He stunk. And she was repulsed. She said she tried to make it work. Some people like a little musty. She said she just couldn't. She said she told Diddy, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And she said, "I can't do this." And Diddy said, threw her on her back and threw her legs up and stuck it in her. Well, inserted himself in her, and told him, "You don't want to taste that? Taste it. Taste it." She said that Diddy had the man, she was on her back like this, and Diddy was inside her, and the man was on top of her like this, like this. And Diddy told her, "Suck it. Just suck it. You don't want to suck it? Suck it." But the problem is it was stinking. It was funky. But I think she still sucked it. Because the requirement was, then Diddy would just tell her, "Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it." So she was on her back and she had to look at the musty. And so Diddy hitting it, and he's saying, "Look at it. Look at it. Look at it." And the man sitting up there with a big stinking funky, and it's right in her face. And she said, "No, I don't want to suck it." Diddy laid her down, sir. Diddy had the guy stand over her, and Diddy would say, "Look at his dick." And then after Diddy came, Diddy excused the man. And then maybe 30 minutes to an hour later, a new man enters the night. This man was Paul. Now, they've dropped Jane to her knees as Paul enters the door. So Paul comes in. And they've got Jane blindfolded. Can you see? And then Paul just, and so she's just being passed around blindfolded. She wasn't allowed to see the next guy. Okay? So Diddy said to hell with that and blindfolded her. And she Paul with the blindfolds on. But she didn't mind Paul. Then there was Michael. I think Michael then came after Paul. He was light-skinned. He looked about 38 to 40. He was cute. He's from LA. Diddy told her something new is coming for you. Introduced Michael to Jane. Diddy never said how they met, but they met on Cowboys for Rent. When he came in, Diddy tried to film him, but he said he didn't want to be filmed. So then Michael proceeded to insert and squirt and finish all over her. So we've started with 1, 2, 3. We're at 4 guys. And I think she did 4 guys in one night. And that was a sobriety party. She said she used to be so excited to be around Diddy. He said he was taking her out to eat. And they were going to Nobu. She was so excited. She said he was being so nice and so sweet and loving. And then he says, I can't wait till you see who the entertainer is tonight. They don't call them escorts, they call them entertainers. She said she was so over it and disappointed because she thought she was gonna Diddy that night and chill. It was her birthday. But instead, he gave her a gift on her birthday and walks in a man back to the routine, and she just started getting. So she thought on her birthday she was going to do a nice dinner. She had got cute. She was going to be with her man, and it was going to be a good time. But no, Diddy had other plans. On her birthday, he had plans to bang her with another entertainer. So she tuned out. She said she just turned out. She keeps breaking down hysterically. She's crying. Ah! She said she felt like, because it was her birthday, and she didn't want to do that on her birthday. And that's when she said she was going to ask for a condom, and Diddy gave her the look and said, you better not have to ask for a condom. He was shaking his head, and you said, you better not do it. She just keeps breaking down in tears. Eventually, Diddy gave her the condom. He got irritated, walked away. He was irritated, but eventually they ended up moving to a bigger suite. And after that, he was more loving. Got her a cake and flowers. They had a bit of alone time. And then there was a knock at the door. Cabral was there. It was time for another freak off tonight. It's your birthday. No. That was round 1. You're going to make it up to me. So she said she did hours and hours and hours and hours and hours upon Cabral. He just would come in and just go for hours and hours and hours and hours. And Diddy was there watching. Then once he was done, another man came. And then after that, another man came, one after another on her birthday. One man came, she wasn't attracted to him. She was like, Diddy, I can't do this guy. I can't sleep with this guy. I can't do it. So Diddy sent him home, and another man came. So she was waiting in an SUV to go to dinner outside the hotel. This is another story. She's waiting inside her SUV to go to dinner. I believe this is New York. And she's sitting in the car. Diddy's outside talking to one of his employees for about 40 minutes. And she says she just began to be so disappointed because she looked up at the hotel, at the room. She took a picture of it. I saw the picture. It was just, you could see it from the street. It was lit up in red. It was completely red. And you could see, like, out of all the lights, it was like the red light. And she said, this is so obvious. His assistants are in there setting up the room. So they would set the room up for the freak off. This was a whole thing. This was a whole, we're going to sit, like, I'm trying to think, like, girl, you didn't realize that he sets a whole stage up. This is the thing. She was so disgusted. She took a picture of the window with the red light. They argued back and forth. She said, I'm done with this every time. Every time I see you, it's happening. I don't like it. I don't like this stuff. He gave her another pill. Just shut up. She didn't like the guy. So the guy had to leave. She called Cabral back because she did like Cabral. So she messaged Cabral to come to New York from Atlanta. And she had with Cabral the Trump Hotel in front of Diddy. And she said, I made love. We made love after. And I was mad that I, inconvenienced him or made him feel sad. She said, one of the men, she said, no, they said, have you had any other guys that we don't have pictures of? Because all these guys they had pictures of. She said, yeah, there was 3 different other men. A black guy at the L'Hermitage or the London. And there was another man that he would put this substance to his nose and smell it. I said, oh, poppers. So they had a nigga in there doing poppers. That sounds like a bisexual or a gay guy. Because what you know about poppers? So they had one man in there that was freaking out with them that was in there doing poppers. I was like, oh, okay. So some of the men are doing poppers. So they was just going over all the different men. So they're painting the picture, the fact that she always have a bunch of different men. Poppers is like nail polish remover. It just gives you this rush, this high, and it makes your intimate situation that much better. If you don't know what poppers is, take the time and Google poppers. Diddy would text her from time to time and say, ooh, I can't wait to see who you have for me. She said she would love to please him. So randomly he would say, oh, I can't wait to see you who you got for me next, babe. Whenever she would hit him up, who do you got for me? I can't wait to see what you do. And she would be saying, I don't really want to do that. Then they got into the cash part because they're trying to say, well, who had the cash? Who would Diddy give the cash to? He would give it to all the entertainers. Would you give money to the entertainers? Yes. How often would he record? He would record every time. At least every time they would allow him to record, he would record the entertainers. He would demand her to do certain things on the man. And they would say, well, what kind of demands would he make? What would he tell you during the freak off or the hotel nights? What would he tell you to do on the man? And she said, he would tell me to stroke it. And then with the baby oil, he would say, let it drip. Yeah, look at it drip. Let it drip off his, let the baby oil just drip. I don't know what the dripping of the baby. So he want the baby oil to drip. Oh, and then let it hang in your face. So she said, let it hang right in her face. And she said she was fine. They said, did you enjoy it? She said, I'm fine. I was fine with it. It was just a part of what was happening. I didn't want to do it, but I kept doing it to put on a good show for my man. They would do role play all the time. 24/7 role play. They said, well, why did you do role play? She said, because that's what Sean liked. They said, would you laugh and joke during the freak offs and role plays and stuff? She said, yeah. Because, you know, the defense is going to be like, girl, you enjoyed some of this. They said, why would you laugh and joke if you didn't want to be there? She said, I was high. So then they went down a montage and collage. We didn't get to see this part, unfortunately, but they showed a timeline of every different guy that they mentioned that she was with. There was a picture because there was a video. And she went through and named they said, who is this with you? This person. Who is this with you? This person. So Diddy has a video of her with every single guy getting tore. They said, so what did you wear? I just wore stripper heels. They said, and you wore that the entire night? Yes. So imagine getting ran through by 3 different guys in an 18-hour time frame, and you ain't took over. You had on 7 to 9 inch heels, stripper heels, and you didn't take them off. They said, well, what would happen with the baby oil? She said, well, with the baby oil, sometimes she would slip, but all she would tell herself is just don't fall. Just don't slip and fall. Every now and then she'd slip on some baby oil. And Diddy would tell her, just keep moving, champ. She'd come in and she'd slip on some baby oil. But she had to keep the high heels on. So she still tried to be cute. You know how you try to be. She got the high heels on. And she slipped on the baby oil. But she still got to be cute because then she got to, and she's slipping on baby oil. But she keeps slipping on baby oil. And Diddy keep telling her to get up. But she won't stop slipping on the baby oil. Does that make sense? And so Diddy also wanted her nipples pierced. Remember, he wanted Cassie to get her nipples pierced. So KK set up the appointment for her to go get her nipples pierced. She didn't wear the nipple piercings for that long because one of the nipples from the clothes after the freak off, it ripped and the nipple was bleeding. Diddy would get upset because it was taking her too long to get the piercings back and it was taking too long for it to heal. He would say, B, where are my piercings? Where are my piercings? Why don't you have my piercings on? And they said, well, why was he saying your piercings, his piercings, like they were his? Well, I was his girl. I was his. I was his woman. He was my man. They were his piercings. I wrote, he owned her. She said her neck and her back would be sore. They said, why? They said, because Diddy would have her in all kind of compromising situations during the freak offs, and she'd be there for hours. Okay? And so she'd have to hold the pose for hours. And so her neck and her back and her shoulders would be in pain. Because during the foreplay, he would direct her to be in all kind of compromising positions. She also said that she suffered from several UTIs and yeast infections. She would get at least 2 or 3 UTIs a week and a yeast infection once a week. Every week she had a UTI and or a yeast infection from the baby oil and the freak offs. She said it would be painful, it would hurt, and she would have to take antibiotics, but she would still do it. They also said that she suffered from severe PUTHY soreness. It was hurting. It had broke. It was so sore. She could not use it. Diddy would make sure that he would have the entertainers break her PUTHY box. It would be very painful and very sore. Now, I don't know what all the UTI and the yeast infection is. I don't have that, but I don't know how you get that, but that's some tea. Cassie used to have that too. She said she would go to her notes and write her feelings out. She felt like she couldn't talk to Diddy. She said she would want to send it to Diddy. She said through a text, Diddy said, I wasn't aware how you were feeling. She also said she realized that one day she woke up and realized since 2021 she had been saying the same thing to Diddy. She went on a trip in 2021 in November. She went on a trip with Diddy and it was a hotel night. in his studio. She said, I was jealous to do a hotel night, and when I leave, he wants to go give the next woman quality time. I wrote, find out who he was jealous of in 2021. Well, apparently, Young Miami and Diddy were dating from 2021 to 2024. Same time this woman was dating Diddy. She said, I need a breather and I need a break from you. This doesn't make me feel good. She started to realize she was just being used for the freak-offs. Then they played a voice note of Diddy. Diddy pretty much said, B, I don't give a. You're tripping. And I don't have to deal with you. I don't want to be here. Like, if you don't want to be here, you can get over it. Like, you're exaggerating. It's not that serious. Who gives a, like, I'm not going to chase you. I said, this shows that when she would try to voice her concern, she would get cursed out and made to look like she was stupid. She said she realized that she is not what Diddy wants, but the freak-offs is actually what he wants. Birthday 2022. She had a freak-off with Leo. Diddy said, why aren't you answering my calls? She was pissed. The reason why he was pissed is because I think her birthday was on February 11th. I think he made her do a freak off. But I think Young Miami's is either February 11th or February 12th. So either way, they're doing the freak off. That's what they did for his birthday, for her birthday. I think he gave her like some jewelry or something. Actually, let her go to dinner with her girlfriends, but he wasn't there. But he did a freak off with her because he flew with another woman. This is why we're saying this Young Miami. Because remember, he did this grand thing with Young Miami, got her on a private jet, went to Turks and Caicos, bought her a bunch for her birthday. I can't find those images on the internet. But she felt some type of way because he did this grandiose birthday party for this other woman on a private jet. She was dressed up. But Diddy would say, don't believe the hype. You're over exaggerating. This is not my girlfriend. She's just a business partner. Don't believe what you see on the internet. We're not really together. It's just a business situation. So when I heard business partner, I'm like, that had to be Young Miami because the timeline add up. He said, don't believe the things that you read online. It's not real. She said she felt away because it was like, she said, I've been waiting for you to do all the things you said you would. I'm sorry, I don't want to do drugs. I don't want to do that freak off anymore. I don't want to be a part of your fantasies and your escapades. I don't want to be your escapism for your debauchery. And you be having me high for days. And when you want to go on a 3-day escapism binge, I want to go to Turks and Caicos. On February 11th, I was banged out by 3 to 6 different niggas on my birthday. The next day, you got a plane decorated for her birthday and going to a private island? And I done sat here and took all this for you? She was sad because she had just finished her birthday getting out by all these men. These other girls are going to Italy, St. Bart's, and now Turks and Caicos. And Diddy said, girl, relax. You look like you having a great party. We had a good time. Stay in the light. Love. That's what he sent her in the text. Let me read it again. He told her, girl, relax. You look like you had a good time. You had a great party. We had a good time together. Stay in the light. Love. Stay in the light is crazy. And she said she looked like she had a good time. Stay in the light is crazy. Stay in the light is absolutely diabolical. Stay in the light. Stay in the light is crazy. I have to start using that one. Stay in the light. Stay in the light, everybody. Stay in the light. And so here's the thing about the party. Diddy wasn't at the party. Diddy was out of town. He had paid for it, though, and paid for the dinner, but he wasn't there. She wanted to go out of town with him, but he told her, you had a great party, stay in the light. She said, I really feel like you used me to get off and that's it. You just used me to get your rocks off and then you just don't care anymore. She said, I didn't want to do all that on my birthday. I told you I wanted to do a trip to, Turks and Caicos. But for after 3 guys, I was basically, and I just wanted to go back to where I fell in love with him. She also felt like he would always, Diddy said he didn't like her. He was like, all right, let's be done talking because you're always trying to throw things in my face. Like, you can just move. He said, let's be friends. I can't take this anymore. I can't take your conspiracies. I can't take you comparing yourself to other people. And then he said, because you're doing too much. Like, and we heard the voicemail. He's like, I can't take all this. Like, you comparing yourself to everybody else. Like, I don't want to deal with this. And she broke down. Don't I give you everything you want? What am I doing wrong? She said, did we take it too far? Absolutely, you took it too far. He stopped respecting you. Anything you asked for me, I've done. Then I think they went to a sidebar or whatever. This is new. The federal government now is documenting Twitter accounts, YouTubers, and publications that are saying this woman's name, saying her identity, and they're also going to be starting to go after content creators and YouTubers inside and outside the court. So if you know anybody online that's trying to dox Jane Doe, the feds are about to start trying to find you. And they've already got, they're grabbing links, they're grabbing posts. So just FYI, we're not doing any of that here. Do not put her name in this chat. Do not do anything like that. I don't even know her name. So we won't say any, in mods, block that immediately. Now we get back to the tea. And if anybody else is still trying to say that after you told them not to say it, block them from this platform. Then I seen Diddy. Diddy text her and said, plan a night of debauchery. She said, okay. So she was going to plan a night of debauchery. I think that was a hotel night. But Diddy sitting over here like this, listening to her story, like, girl, I wish you would shut up. I wish you. Diddy is sitting there like this. Like, I wish she would just shut up. I do not care what she's talking about. He don't like her like that. He is not interested in her. I don't think he is interested in her at all. She took a pill. She went to the hotel and Don came to see her. She had a freak off. Finally, Diddy took her to Turks and Caicos. But Diddy didn't take her alone. He called Paul, the entertainer, aka the escort. And it ended up going down in Turks and Caicos. They had a freak off in Turks and Caicos. They head back to the villa. She was tired, but she had did it for hours. Diddy said, you got some more in you? And she said, this is the 4th round, Diddy. I'm tired. He said, you don't got no more in you? She said, no. She said, her PUTHY was so sore. It was so painful. And Diddy just grabbed a bottle of Astroglide and kept squirting Astroglide on her PUTHY to try to make it better. But she said it was hurting so bad that the Astroglide wouldn't work. He said, damn, B, you can't take no more dick. And she said, fuck you, Diddy. You only brought me here to suck dick. And she walked off. So she was running around Turks and Caicos. She was upset. She was upset. I wrote she was a box. She stormed off. Diddy called her and said, now, oh, how can you embarrass me like that in front of Paul? You need to apologize to Paul for what you did. She came back and apologized to Paul. They said, well, did he apologize to you for what he did? She said, no. He didn't apologize to me. It had been 24 hours with no breaks. They hadn't spoken over a month. They took a break when she didn't talk. They got back together, went to Turks and Caicos. But now he's just going overboard. Turks and Caicos lasted a few days, but she got to spend a little time with him like 2 days after the freak off. She went to Miami after Turks and Caicos. They did another freak off. She invited Cabral over. So she originally invited Cabral over to Turks and Caicos. He wasn't available. But he eventually came to Miami. So when she booked his trip, they said it was the same day booking. She ended up booking Cabral because he couldn't come to Turks and Caicos because Diddy was trying to get them both there. But he couldn't make it for whatever reason. So boom, they fly back to Miami. They want to do another freak off. She calls him. She says, okay, can you get on the 10:59 flight? He said, yes, I can get on the flight. Gets on the flight. They do the freak off. She tells him, thank you for bringing great energy. She said, well, why did you? They said, if you didn't like him or you didn't like doing the freak offs, why are you saying thank you for bringing good energy? She said, because I didn't want him to feel like he was less than. I wanted him to feel like, you know, he was important and he was worth something. So that makes sense. She was like, that's just how I am. So I can respect that. Then they said that her and Diddy got back cool and they came up with an agreement, a love agreement. It was a 2-year agreement that he would give her an allowance. She wanted 15,000, but she got 10. And so he got her a place. And they said, how long, when did he get you an apartment? April 23rd, April 2023 to currently. And he's paying your bills now. Yes. They said, who's paying the bills now? Diddy. So he's still paying her rent and she's testifying against him in court. Right now, today. They said after Turks and Caicos, he bought her some new teeth. They said, well, why did he buy you new teeth? She said, he didn't like my teeth. He hated my veneers. So he brought me new ones. He also gave her $15,000 for furniture. She needed more money, so she had to open up 3 credit card accounts to furnish the place because the place was huge. So I think Diddy asked her, are we getting freaky tonight? She said, of course, but it's just like, I haven't seen you. Like, I haven't really seen you like that, Sean. He said, well, get over it. Please look at the roof over your head and that pretty smile that you have in your mouth. As in, you don't have to see me, ho. I pay your bills and I get you a new smile. However, she was supposed to be planning an all-star party with 3 to 4 guys all in one night for an all-star golf. Diddy would say, what's the earliest can I see you? Because you got me excited about the 18th. I'm ready for this all-star golf. She said, I can't do that tonight. He said, B, what the is wrong with you? Something wrong with your... Is it broke? You sick? You tripping. Now you can do it? She was hesitant about the freak off. She said, last week I hit a wall. She said, Diddy got frustrated. And then she said, I'm on my period. She said she sent him a little pink dab of, you know, the toilet tissue, because she said, in a minute, this pink is going to be all red. And she sent him a picture. She said, we should wait. Diddy said, B, you weren't high and we shouldn't wait. You full of shit. And I told you how we could stop the period. Just drink champagne. Diddy was pissed because she didn't keep her promise for the freak off. He said, I'm too stressed right now, and I'm too stressed and pressed to get pressed for money. You had your period, and I gave you a solution, champagne. You whackers, man. But you over here getting your hair done, your nails done, for what? Fuck you. And she said, fuck you, and sent the bloody tampon. She said, I didn't want to do drugs, and I didn't want to do, and I didn't want to do the drugs. She said, I went and got child care, but I just didn't really want to do it. Now, movie night was not on the list. I had a week to, she said the whole movie night that he wanted to do a movie night. She was like, movie night is not on the list. She was like, girl, I had a whole week of coming down and getting back to myself. So when they asked, they said, what is the week of coming down? She said, well, she was just in Turks and Caicos. She had been high all last week. When you do ecstasy and all those stuff, you be so high. But then when you're starting to come down, that come down is a motherfucker. It's really bad on your mental and your anxiety. So she said she would go to the gym and do this and try to work out and get her mind clear. And Diddy was like, B, set up the all-star freak off. And he called her a B and a hoe. And he told her, B hoe, you better get on your motherfucking job. You got me on my job. Get on your job. And I'm like, ooh, get on your job is crazy. Get on your job. She says, I've been on my job for 2.5 years. And you call this even? Let's just call this even. You've been making this feel very transactional. And I'm tired of being threatened at every opportunity and every angle, that every time you get a chance, you're threatening me. Basically saying, do your job or lose your place. Your job is to be a hoe. Your job is not to be my girlfriend. So after that, that was pretty much the day. I was getting drained with the story because, as you guys can see now, she had one job. And her job was to take pipe. 24/7. It wasn't to be your girlfriend. It wasn't to hang out with you. It wasn't to cuddle with you. It wasn't to be public with you. Your job was to get tore and let me live out my freakiest things in my mind. You were supposed to be a dump, but you wanted to be a girlfriend. And I don't know how you lost the plot, but you met the nigga on some volatile stuff. So I don't know how this is going to go. But again, what they're trying to do with her, they're trying to say that she was defrauded and try to put this as a trafficking situation with her, because she was led to believe that she was one thing, but she was lied to by him. So that's where the fraud comes in. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I just hate this for her kid. She was real. I want to be Jane Doe too. I want to be Jane Doe too, with all, because you were just a hoe. Like, you really were that. So I can't wait to see what the cross says, because it's giving me, girl, you thought you was gonna hold your way into a wedding ring, and when you hold your way into a hole, you didn't want to do that no more. But you wasn't being upfront with what you wanted from the beginning. You wanted the trips, the money. You was with the freak offs, but once you got too freaky, he didn't respect you no more. Now, we haven't gotten to a violence tea yet, so I don't know. So that's what happened, guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel right now. Hit the subscribe button because a lot of you guys are saying you guys haven't got your notifications. That's because y'all haven't checked them recently and you haven't turned your notifications on, because YouTube does typically unsubscribe people. I don't know why it does that. So every now and then, make sure you guys check out and see if you guys are still subscribed. Also, it would behoove me if you guys follow me on Instagram. I'm just going to do a plain shameless plug because I am almost at 100K on Instagram. So I would love it if you guys join the family over on Instagram. And I'm going to show you guys my Instagram name. Okay, there I am on Instagram. There it is. Armand Wiggins. Here's the link. I'm going to share the link right there. Please donate to the More Oil Fund. I'm going to post the link, pin it, follow me on Instagram. You guys subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. We may do a Q&A tomorrow if I have time. So I'm interested to know what you guys think and all the press we did this week. So I haven't talked to you guys in a minute, so I think it'll be a good day if I have time, but I got to figure out a barbershop appointment and all that stuff. But outside of that, hold on. But outside of that, y'all, I love y'all all. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you guys for rocking with me from TMZ, Ashley Bainfield, Nancy Grace, all the J Dow show, everywhere we've been. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for coming in here. 20,000 people almost every single night. I appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed. Thank you to each and every one of you guys that super chat, that donate, that member. You guys are keeping me going because this is a lot of work sitting in that court every single day. It's very draining. I'm tired as hell today. I know my energy may have seemed like it wasn't as up as usual, but that's because I've been doing 3 and 4 different shows every day. I've been talking every day, just on different platforms. So I need some rest, but I love y'all. Thank you so much. Peace out.